Not working. Yes? Yeah, it is working. Okay, so yeah, we will start. Well, welcome everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today. I'm super excited about having this conversation. So, I am Muriel Alarcón. I am a Chilean journalist. I am with the Pulitzer Center delegation. They are here today with me. I am also its climate science reporting fellow. So today we will have this fascinating conversation about food systems. So we all know food system contribute 1/3 to of greenhouse gas emissions, but have historically not received the attention they deserve. So today we have this great opportunity to focus on insights from experts in the food system who are today involved actively in the negotiations, but also with those who are today experiencing the impact of climate crisis in the front line. So we can share all this perspective together. So, but today we will start by introducing our first guest. Eric Schwab is the Senior Vice President for People and Nature at Environmental Defense Fund, where he leads global work in natural climate solutions and sustainable food systems. His food systems work integrate climate-smart agriculture, ocean and fisheries protection, and freshwater sustainability to help make food system both more resilient to climate impact and a part of the climate solution. So Eric also works to advance a natural climate solution across ocean, forest, and agriculture system. Eric has leadership experiences in the US state, of course, and federal government foundations and with conservation not-profit organizations at regional and the most important global scales. So thank you so much, Eric, for joining us today.
Thank you. And that's way more than you needed to know.
Yeah, no, please. So we will start right now. We know that food systems haven't gained a prominent attention on negotiations and previous COP conference. So as we approach to the end of the COP, I want to ask you, Eric, where we are in terms of food system and climate policy. How would you describe the context?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, we need to recognize that there has been a great increase in attention to food systems, both as part of the climate solution, as well as you said, in the ways that farmers and fishers around the world are being forced to struggle to produce food in the face of climate impacts already being felt. So the awareness level has risen dramatically. Number one, this is the first year we have a food day. The second thing is that we have seen some great out-of-the-gate attention through the Emirates Declaration that was signed by 130 countries who have committed to recognizing this important part of the challenge. Now, there are, in addition to that, lots of other pathways for action. So we've seen, for example, corporate commitments to reduce, for example, methane emissions in the livestock sector, and we can talk a little bit more about that.
Right.
We've seen big new philanthropic commitments, and we've seen cross-government collaborations that are below the global level. That said, some of the important work around the global stocktake and the inclusion of foods there, as well as some of the other sort of specific the Sharm el-Sheikh work and its continuation have not moved forward in the way that we might have hoped.
Right.
I actually think, again, with all the farmers sitting here, that one of the things that we should take into account is the fact that, from our perspective, agricultural solutions, food system solutions have to be what we call triple win, right? They have to yield benefit for the climate, but they also have to allow for livelihood opportunities for producers around the world and to meet nutritional needs of communities. So the fact that we haven't moved as fast in some of the negotiation work as we might have hoped is in part attributable to the fact that countries know that they need to make sure this works for their farmers and fishermen.
Right.
And they need to take the time to do that right.
Right. Yeah. So you were mentioning this. COP28 marks the first ever global stock take. You were mentioning. So, how do you think this is affecting progress on transforming food systems?
Well, I think the most important thing to recognize is that a number of countries, by virtue of the, evidenced by the Emirates Declaration, recognize the important need to incorporate food systems into both their nationally determined contributions as well as their national adaptation plans. So I think while we don't have that as an agreement across all of the nations, that quite a few nations that recognize that need are moving forward in ways that I think will lift the floor as well as contribute to growing sort of global acceptance of this, of this food systems challenge as a big part of the climate solution.
So if we compare to the last COP, what process what progress has been made, like in concrete terms, during this COP, and what more needs to be done?
Well, first we came right out of the gate, as we said already, with the Emirates Declaration.
Yeah.
130 countries saying this is important to us,
Right.
and here's how we're going to move forward.
Yeah.
And that's a big development.
Progress. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Secondly, we do have continued commitment to work on the Sharm el-Sheikh process, although it has moved forward to the intersessional in Bonn. But that work will continue. But I think, again, as evidenced by all of the collaboration here in the pavilion over the course of the week and the focus today, we've got, as we said, we've got corporate commitments.
Yeah.
We've got philanthropic commitments. We've got governments below the global level that have agreed to work together.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, and we've got the kinds of collaborations that we see here over the course of today and over the course of the last 2 weeks. So there's a tremendous increased awareness and tremendous increases in opportunities to take action. And I'd love to talk for a minute about the global, the Methane Action Alliance, but I'll let you sort of dictate when I say that.
Yeah. So, and in your role, Eric, what do you want to see as an outcome, as a result for food system after this scope?
So that triple win, right? Which is, we know, as you said at the outset, that food systems contribute 30% of global climate greenhouse gases. So one of the things that we clearly need to do is set on a pathway at the country level as well as globally to sort of reduce that contribution in a significant way. But the second part of that is that, again, producers, fishermen, and farmers are already facing real challenges in producing food in the face of the climate impacts that are already being felt, right? So one of the things that we have to do is ensure that we build capacity for producers to continue to produce foods in the face of climate in the ways that don't dig a deeper hole, right? And also in ways that ensure critical nutrition for people in communities all around the world.
Thank you so much, Eric. This has been really thoughtful ways of approaching this very important and urgent conversation. So I want to invite now our other guests. Because we want also to hear the voices from Kyle Stice. Yeah, so you can come to the stage now. Yeah, please. Kyle is Executive Director of Pacific Islands Farmer Organization Network. We also want to invite Laura Lorenzo, yeah, Director at the World Rural Forum. We also have today here Alberto Broch, yeah, President of the Confederation of Family Producers Organizations of Expanded Mercosur. And we also have here today Celeste Nga, a member from ProPac. So we are very excited to have you today. Yeah, no, I can stay. Yeah, please, no. I am the moderator only. You are the protagonist this day. So I would love to start with a question for Laura. Laura, today we are seeing more farmers attending and participating in COP than ever before, right? So what can tell you us about how farmer movements around the world are today collaborating, and also what type of opportunities does the COP process offer?
Thank you very much for the question. Today with me are some farmers organizations that belong to the World Rural Forum. That is a network of farmers organizations from all over the countries. We represent 35 million of farmers around the world. And we, as the World Rural Forum, my colleagues will explain, we suffer from the impact of climate change, but we were not in the negotiation processes. We were not here, and this is the first opportunity that we are here to move. We say we move from why is necessary family farming in the food systems, for how can we strengthen family farming, and we want to see the farmers organizations, the farmers themselves speaking about themselves, no, speaking what are the solutions that they provide. They are solution providers. We don't want to see as not the problem, because we are producing the more nutrition food in the world, and we are taking care of the environmental, we are promoting rural development, and so on. So this is a great opportunity to share our commitments, our actual commitments, because we are, transiting towards more sustainable models. And we are here also to speak and to share and to make collaborations between the different organizations, farmers, consumers, international organizations, governments, on how to address the actual challenges.
Thank you so much. So we will continue with Alberto. Alberto, there has been a lot of conversation at COP around a shift to sustainable agriculture. So what are you seeing in your communities on the ground? Okay, so, and how can the efforts at COP support a sustainable transition for them?
Na verdade, para nós este é um tema extremamente importante. Vou falar em português, porque o meu tradutor fala qualquer língua aqui, né? Veja só, nós, agricultores familiares, na América do Sul, Brasil, Argentina, Uruguai, Paraguai, os agricultores familiares tradicionais, agricultores familiares quilombolas, indígenas, nós já viemos praticando uma transição para uma agricultura mais sustentável. Porém, não é uma política global dos países. nós ainda sofremos os impactos da Revolução Verde, que é a grande agricultura tradicional. Nós queremos uma transição para que todos os agricultores familiares tenham a oportunidade de poder produzir mais sustentavelmente, mais agroecologicamente. Para isso, nós precisamos de políticas públicas. Nós queremos que os nossos centros de pesquisas, as nossas Embrapas, né, de todos os países, possam produzir conhecimento, né, educação, assistência técnica, políticas públicas para que esta transição seja uma transição global, para que verdadeiramente nós possamos ter uma agricultura mais sustentável, agroecológica, capaz de produzir alimentos saudáveis, combinar a preservação do meio ambiente com a produção de alimentos. Porque comer, nós precisamos comer todos os dias. E quem mais produz alimento que vai na mesa de todos são os agricultores familiares. Esta é a nossa visão, este é o pleito que nós gostaríamos que no debate dos sistemas alimentares pudesse estar incluído, por exemplo, num espaço tão importante que é a COP que estamos acompanhando.
Muchas gracias por
Gracias.
la importante información. So we will continue. Sorry, yeah, with the interpretation. In fact, I was going to say that.
Can hold the mic? Well, for us, this is very important moment. I'll speak in Portuguese because I have an interpreter here. For us, family farmers, we are based in Argentina, and South America, Brazil, Paraguay, and so on. We already have on the ground, we have traditional farming techniques, also for indigenous farmers. We do the transition for our system, our farming system, which is more sustainable. However, this is not what's happening at the global scale. We are suffering from this green revolution. So we would like a transition so all the farmers would be also have an incidence, because we want to produce more sustainable products. So we do need more agroecology. So we do need public policies to be implemented. Our research centers, they should be included in every nation. All and producers would be able to pass the knowledge, technical assistant, so we would have a global incidence in order to have a farming industry which is more sustainable, that would match and also to save the environment and for the benefit of the food production. We farmers, we are producers, we are momentous for the world. So we believe that we should be included at these roundtables of such great events such as the COP.
Yeah, no, you can. So now, Alberto. Sorry about that. Kyle. sorry. So, yeah, so Kyle. Yeah, here we are. So Kyle, what is the current state of funding for farmers on the front lines to adapt to the climate crisis? What more needs to be done to support adaptations effort?
Yeah, thank you. So it took 22 hours to fly from Fiji to Dubai. And walking around here in the last few days, you might as well be on another planet. I want to stress that according to FAO, 90% of our Pacific Islanders live in the rural area, and 70% of them derive their primary livelihood from agriculture. And in our network, in 14 Pacific Island countries, 95% of them are family farmers. Just as different as Dubai is from Fiji, we also learned that there are a lot of different farmers' voices here. Not all farmers are the same, and not all farmer organizations are the same. So particularly in our region, 95% are family farmers, small farmers, and they couldn't be more disconnected from these climate discussions than might as well living on another planet. Huh?
Yeah.
But what we see as I look at the environment around where we are having these discussions, that in fact, globally, only 0.3% of climate finance is reaching family farmers. These are farmers farming less than 5 hectares. So we ask, what's the problem? We like to think an analogy of like a farm. So I believe that the problem we have is a plumbing problem. That somehow the information from the farm is not able to reach up to our governments, firstly, and especially not at the global level, especially these very rural, isolated farms like in our region. And then at the same time, there are resources here, but these resources are not able to make their way down. So we have blockages along the way. This plumbing is not working. Similarly, we have innovations, we have models that are resilient to these climate extremes. You know, indigenous people that have thrived for, 2,000 years in this harsh climate. But those are not making their way up. So again, we have this plumbing problem and lots of innovations here in this food systems pavilion, but it's not making its way down. And so we believe that one of the ways to overcome this plumbing issue is by supporting local organizations, grassroots organizations, farmer organizations, indigenous people organizations, to really help be that catalyst, that intermediary, tap into the traditional knowledge and make sure that those are the kind of innovations that are being funded, but also to be able to bring new science and technology as well as resources down to the grassroots level. Unfortunately, I'm going back with not that much optimism, but we are excited that through forums like this and working globally with my other farmer organizations, that we can start to bring more of this voice and more of these solutions up, and then hopefully more resources back down.
Well, thank you so much for your reflection on this, on the current challenges. So we want to hear now from Celestin Ga. Celestin, how do you think access to decision-making is changing for farmers at COP? And how can we improve their inclusion, and I want to highlight that word, inclusion, and representation?
Merci beaucoup. C'est vraiment un honneur pour nous de prendre la parole à cette instance. Si on comprend la présence des petits producteurs agricoles à cette grande messe mondiale, et si on comprend l'institution du journée pour l'alimentation, on répondrait facilement à votre question. En fait, l'agriculture familiale qui produit la nourriture que nous consommons est aujourd'hui à la croisée des chemins. Elle doit produire plus pour nourrir le plus grand nombre de personnes. Par exemple, je viens de l'Afrique centrale, nous sommes à 215 millions d'habitants. À l'horizon 2050, nous serons à 400. Donc, cela veut dire que la nourriture devra, l'agriculture devra produire plus de nourriture. Et le changement climatique ajoute de la pression à l'agriculture familiale parce qu'il y a réduction des ressources qui sont des matières premières pour l'agriculture. Et donc, en ce moment, il va falloir produire plus et mieux et avec très peu. Et dans ces conditions-là, les petits producteurs agricoles doivent faire partie de la solution à l'action climatique. Et donc, nous pensons que les politiques doivent être mises en place et des politiques qui reconnaissent et libèrent le potentiel des petits producteurs agricoles dans l'action climatique, bien entendu, mais aussi dans la transformation des systèmes alimentaires et aussi dans la préservation de la biodiversité. Nous pensons aussi que les politiques doivent tenir compte des groupes vulnérables. Nous parlons des femmes et des jeunes qui bénéficient d'une attention, je vais dire, relativement moindre par rapport à leur importance. Et donc, les politiques doivent permettre que le potentiel des femmes et des jeunes puisse être valorisé. Et aussi, on a parlé du financement. Nous pensons que les politiques doivent orienter les financements directement vers les petits producteurs agricoles et permettre aussi que ces financements puissent répondre directement aux besoins des petits producteurs à la base. Merci.
Oh, thank you. So now we will hear from the translator, right?
Thank you very much. It's an honor for me to be here at this stage. Firstly, if we think about the awareness of the small-scale farmers, we should also see what is the awareness of the organizations. So family farmers, they produce food to the world, food that we all eat. In these regards, I should say there is massive room for improvement. We should take into account the food producers. We should produce more nowadays. In Central Africa, in our region, we are around 200 million people. In the near future, we're going to be 400 million people. What does it mean? It means that we must produce more food in the near future. Therefore, the climate change is a massive challenge, and this stats shows that we have added pressure because we have less resources, less raw material. So we should produce more food with less conditions. Therefore, we should be part of the solution. This is how we should be regarded. The measures should take into account our situation and also should improve our participation. We are aware that the relevance of small-scale farmers is not great. So we do think that we should take into account policies that will bear the preservation of the biodiversity. The politics, they should take into account the women and also the youth because they have limited attention, take into account the relevance for this matter. So we should boost the attention and the incidence of those groups in the decision-making. The funders, they should also be thinking about direct funding to small-scale farmers. And we should be able to see a response on the ground of all these actions.
Thank you. So I'm going to stay with the microphone because now we will open the conversation to the audience we have today. So please feel welcome to ask questions. We have really interesting stories here to hear. So whom would like to start? Yeah, please.
Thank you. It seems that if food systems are not being included in the discussion of the global stock take, which is a problem, as you guys have all pointed out, what would you like to see then in the adaptation discussions that would help assuage some of that neglect on the global stock take?
Thank you. So would you like to answer?
Yeah. Of course, we will. First, we will like to have a bigger recognition. No, not mentioning the farmers in the text is not justice or is not fair. No, it's not. It's something that we cannot accept. No. In terms of adaptation, we wish to have further resources. No, I think the farmers' organizations, they have the capacities. No, they have the knowledge, and they are able to partner with the research institutes. So we wish to have. The commitments going in that direction. No? That is our our aspiration. And but something that we learned during the past year, no, this is not the end for us. We will continue advocating a lot, and we are learning from these processes. It is not so easy to engage in the negotiations for farmers' organizations that they have their own farms and so on. So we are in this process, and we are confident that maybe now we don't have an agreement, but in June we will reach. And I came just from a panel in the theater, in the main center, when a minister was telling that, no, that it is not accepted that only 0.3% of climate adaptation, public climate adaptation, arrives to small-scale farmers, no? And I do think if a minister is saying that, no, and starting this discussion with the different global funds will make a difference. Thank you.
So, would you like to add something, Kyle, about your own lessons on this process of negotiations?
Yeah, I think for us the concern is even when there is resources that is pledged, how much of it is actually reaching down to the ground? And we have been doing a mental map of the architecture, and what I can see is the house is not built properly. And even if more resources are pledged, we still cannot see a pathway for that to reach down to the grassroots. So there has to be a strong emphasis on local organizations who can implement adaptation in local context, using local solutions. We still cannot bring all of the solutions from up here and then think that we're going to trickle it down through governments or international NGOs and then it's going to reach the rural people. We have to change the architecture, and this means putting grassroots organizations at the forefront. In our case, farmer organizations at the forefront. And so this makes me skeptical even when there is more climate resources that are being pledged. So, but as we said, today the farmers had a voice in the main plenary. We had an opportunity to share this. And there were international agencies, there were governments, they were there listening. We had some solutions that were put forward so that no longer can development partners get away with it's too hard or it's too risky to give money to the grassroots organizations, because we have many examples of how it already is happening. So now we need to push those examples and models and force resources through these grassroots organizations for local solutions by local people.
Oh, thank you so much. So who else want to ask? Yeah, no? So I would love to ask Alberto about your opinion in the need of empower this grassroots movement in these local solutions.
Esta é uma pergunta muito importante, porque nós, agricultores, somos milhares e somos espalhados, estamos trabalhando nas nossas comunidades, nas nossas roças, produzindo alimentos. Nós precisamos mais do que nunca que se valorize as nossas organizações. As políticas não chegam individualmente se nós não for através das organizações sindicais, cooperativas, associações. Portanto, o fortalecimento das organizações são essenciais para que as políticas possam chegar lá na base, lá nas comunidades, lá nos territórios onde as pessoas vivem. Segundo, este tema que nós estamos discutindo é importante para a vida do nosso planeta. Verdadeiramente, vocês são jornalistas e vocês fazem a opinião pública, vocês têm uma importância muito grande. O mundo passa por um momento muito grave com as mudanças climáticas. Porém, eu vejo falar muito pouco daqueles que produzem alimento. Todos nós precisamos comer todos os dias. Os agricultores familiares, segundo as estatísticas, produzem mais de 70% dos alimentos. Não é levado em consideração nesses debates. Então, nós precisamos fazer uma combinação para atacar os problemas do câmbio climático, mas levar em consideração aqueles que produzem alimento e que manejam o solo todos os dias. Aliado a isso com o fortalecimento das nossas organizações.
This is a very important question. As the farmers, we are millions around the world. We are working on the ground. The commitment, the production of the food, more than ever, we do need recognition because these policies is not enough if we do not have also the support of trade unions, organizations, entities. They are very important to strengthen our momentum. So we do need to reach the people because this is a very important topic for the world. You are the media. You play an instrumental role in devoting the message because we are facing serious challenges in this world nowadays. However, the family farmers, they are not spoken enough, take into account their relevance. Family farmers, they produce 70% of the food that we do consume in the world. So global solutions should be found for this situation because the producers, the conditions they have aren't great. So we should strengthen our organizations so we can improve the situation as a whole.
Thank you so much. So I would love, Celestin, to follow up on this question. So how can you strengthen the grassroots movement impact? How can this also be communicated to the world to be able also to recognize your important role in the global discussion today?
Merci beaucoup. Je pense qu'il est important de changer la perception qu'on a des petits producteurs agricoles. Ce sont des partenaires qui comptent et qui doivent compter dans les négociations. Bien, nous nous réjouissons que de plus en plus une considération soit accordée aux petits producteurs agricoles. Au niveau de l'ONU, il y a eu la déclaration de la décennie des Nations Unies pour l'agriculture familiale. Je pense que c'est très important de noter cela, mais nous voulons que cette considération aille jusqu'au niveau local. Et les organisations paysannes ont un rôle à jouer dans ce processus-là. Il faut aussi avoir à l'esprit que les petits producteurs agricoles sont dépositaires de connaissances endogènes et c'est très important. Aujourd'hui, nous parlons de changement climatique. Les changements climatiques ne sont pas nés aujourd'hui. Les changements climatiques existent depuis longtemps. Et comment les petits producteurs agricoles ont fait pour survivre à ces changements climatiques? C'est parce qu'ils ont mis en pratique les technologies paysannes, les innovations qu'ils ont pu survivre jusqu'à aujourd'hui. Et c'est pour cela que nous pensons qu'il est important de prendre en compte la contribution que les petits producteurs agricoles peuvent apporter dans l'adaptation au changement climatique.
Thank you so much. So we have still time for one more question. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we have to translate there. But meanwhile, you can think of that last question.
Thank you very much. I believe that it's very important that we should change perception. It's time for that. We should change the perception of small-scale farmers. Small-scale farmers should be part of the talks at these roundtables. Increasingly, we are seeing more recognitions at the UN, and I should highlight it. For example, the Declaration of the Family Farmers. This is an important element. However, this awareness should be also extended at the local level. We must take into account small-scale farmers because we know that they have a great role for the climate change. Climate change existed for a far long time ago, and they did manage to survive. They did it because they did apply many strategies, innovation, and also sustainable strategies that enable them to survive. So their contribution to the world must be emphasized because they play a role for these situations of adaptation.
Thank you. So the last question, yeah, please.
I want to understand what do you think is like the most effective way to really start to engage new audiences, like bringing really like civil society and citizens to understand better the challenges that farmers face, like starting even with young people, children, like how we can create more engagement on these topics.
Who wants to answer? Okay, I can.
Laura?
We do think that some recognition is ongoing. The UN Decade on Family Farming, for instance, is a great success coming from the farmers themselves. This is very important to underline. It was not a declaration that came from any government. Of course, it was approved. And it was, we feel that there is a recognition on the role, but it's not enough. We want the action, and the action is not arriving. And we are saying that we need a multidimensional approach. We are not thinking in just specific actors. We think in governments, no? The governments should implement policies to access to land, to transform the food system, or to promote diversification of crops, and so on. We do think we need to strengthen the women organizations, for instance. We need a combination, but the most important thing from our side is the commitment, the real commitment and the state commitment to bring the resources and the policies to the ground level. I do think there is not about how or why. It's about how can we really have the commitments, the real commitments in the ground, no? So that is why we are calling to be in all the decision-making processes, because I do think that in each country, any of these organizations knows what is the priority. They need access to water, maybe, or they need whatever. They know, but there are a lot of, competition among the policies, even in the governments. No? But if we wish to have food in the future, we need to invest now in family farming, because I was in the panel previously saying that we are having a great or a big movement of farmers going from farm to the city, and we will not have young people in the farms in the future if we are not now investing. So for me, it's just a lack of commitment, a real and persistent commitment on family farmers, because they are the future.
Yeah. So I want to add, regarding you were saying, Laura, this to assure the food of the future, we need to invest now. So how can this be possible, Alberto?
É muito importante também que os nossos governos, os nossos países, nas nossas escolas, na educação, a gente possa conversar mais da onde vêm os alimentos, quem produz os alimentos. Às vezes os consumidores não sabem nem como se tira o leite de uma vaca, da onde vem o leite. Muitos acham que isso vem de uma máquina, né? Então, a gente precisa conversar mais com a sociedade como um todo. Eu sempre digo que esse não é um problema dos agricultores, é um problema de toda a sociedade, de todos, porque todos nós consumimos alimentos. Então, acho que isso é importante para valorizar quem produz, porque como nós precisamos de recursos públicos, a sociedade precisa ver que está sendo bem empregado recursos públicos. Então, nós temos que dialogar mais sobre isso. E, portanto, nós pensamos que esta valorização ela precisa acontecer através de decisões políticas, né? Nós estamos aí, os governos, as Nações Unidas, os organismos multilaterais têm que tomar decisões políticas. Isto é prioridade. Esse tema é um tema de vida, é um tema de alimentação, é o futuro da humanidade. Então, queremos que passa muito por decisões sérias, políticas, e principalmente em fóruns como esses, que, infelizmente, estamos chegando aos poucos, mas muito pouco se fala sobre esse tema.
I understood. It's your turn.
This is extremely important. Our governments, our nations, school, education system, we must stress more and speak more about such subjects. Because who produces the food? Who are the producers? Sometimes people don't even know how to extract the milk. They ask if it comes from manufacturing. We do need more talks from our society as a whole, because this is not a problem, an issue of the farmers. This is an issue of all the society, because we all need to eat. So it's important to highlight this question of the producers. We do need public resources. So the society has to take more accountability, because if we want to work more, we do need more policies that would go in this regard. Organizations, entities, they all need to take action from now, because this is a matter of our future, the future of our existence. So roundtables, great events as such, it is important for us to have this platform and discuss these subjects, because we're speaking in the way that we need to think about the future for all the human beings.
Okay. So, Kyle, I want to ask you something related to this. So, Alberto was saying this is not a problem of farmers. We all need to eat. So, how needs society, or what needs society to understand today urgently to prioritize this theme?
Yeah, thank you. As many of you know, there are Pacific islands that are going to be wiped out in the next 20 to 30 years. This means that their islands will be inundated with salt water and they will be lost as a result of climate change. And similarly, there is a very real threat to the existence of family farmers, of smallholder farmers. And as we think about that existence, we have to think about the food system, because it's not only the climate that's threatening smallholder farmers, but it's the corporatization of agriculture. It's the way that markets are being driven by corporate interest, and smallholder farmers are being pushed down, and large commercial farmers are taking land, taking water, taking control of seed. And so there's a very real threat that climate change will help tip the scales on the threat for small farmers. But we need to not just look at our farmers, but we need to look at the food systems. And again, I come back to the solutions that are being talked about and developed. There is a role for technology, there's a role for innovation, but it has to be developed with farmers, and it has to be targeted to the majority of the world's food producers, which are small farmers. What I've seen and heard majority through this last couple of days is that we are focusing on larger farmers who bring larger solutions that require, and the solutions that require significant investment. And this will further marginalize small farmers. And it doesn't just marginalize the farmers, but it also disrupts the food system. The food that you eat now will be produced by commercial corporate interests who don't really care about the land and the environment, but they also don't really care if they're poisoning you. And so we believe that we need to put the emphasis on small farmers and farmer organizations who can help be that intermediary between the solution, the development of solutions and the small-scale farmers, so that we continue to live in a world where our food is grown in a healthy way, that our bodies are able to consume that food, and that the environment also benefits.
Thank you. And I want also now to end with Celestin. So how can farmers be, in concrete terms today, part of the solution? What do you need to be part of the solution?
Pour moi, cette question va m'amener à insister sur le rôle et l'implication des femmes et des jeunes. Parce que ces deux groupes vulnérables qui reçoivent inversement une attention par rapport à leur importance. Pour les femmes, nous savons que dans ma région, plus de 70% des personnes sont dans l'agriculture et plus de 60% sont des femmes. Donc c'est un grand nombre, et ces femmes s'occupent de la production des denrées alimentaires, de la transformation, de la conservation, de la commercialisation. C'est donc un rôle central que les femmes jouent dans l'agriculture. Mais les femmes ne sont pas prises en compte dans les appuis qui sont donnés pour renforcer les capacités des petits producteurs. En ce qui concerne les jeunes, qui sont la force du travail, les jeunes, nous avons l'agriculture se fait dans des zones rurales chez nous. Et ces zones rurales sont dans un état d'abandon total. Il n'y a pas d'infrastructure, et ce qui fait que les jeunes abandonnent les villages, c'est les zones rurales. Et aujourd'hui, nous avons cette espèce de migration vers le continent européen où les jeunes traversent et les déserts et les mers pour aller. Tout ça, c'est lié au fait que les jeunes ne sont pas attirés, ne sont pas encouragés à s'exercer, à s'impliquer dans l'agriculture. Nous pensons qu'il faut équiper les zones rurales où se fait l'agriculture pour maintenir les jeunes, pour rendre attrayant l'activité agricole au niveau des villages.
Thank you.
For me, this is relevant to highlight yet again the role of women and the role of the youth, because they are the most vulnerable people. They don't have the right attention, and they are not rightly funded. Oops. In my region, women, they play a major role. More than 70% of the farmers in my area, and 60% of them are women. They protect the food system. They are also very important for the commercialization. So this shows that they play an instrumental role, yet they are not regarded as such. The youth as well. The youth, normally they are located in the rural areas. However, they are abandoned because of the lack of infrastructures. So, for that reason, they exit the rural areas and they are going to other parties. We are witnessing a phenomenon of migration to European countries, for instance, because the agricultural system is not persuading them to maintain in those areas. This is why we should strengthen rural areas so we can keep the youth and attract them to stay in these rural areas.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this really, really important insight for your reflections. I stay with this message by Alberto. This is not a problem of farmers. We all eat food. So this only highlights the substantial role that our global food system play in this important and urgent context of greenhouse gas emissions. So I think we all stay also with this, with the reflection that bringing this diverse experience to the table presents us this big opportunity. Dialogue is so crucial today in this context. It fosters a collaborative understanding. Open dialogue assures that decisions today are informed by a broad spectrum of experience. You know, we are all from all over the world sharing this big conclusion together today. So, and I can absolutely conclude after this conversation that this can only lead to a more inclusive, to a more inclusive and effective outcome. So thank you so much for being today, and thank you so much, you all, for joining this conversation.